Daniel walked slowly along the dusty road that led into the alien village. His clothes were worn out from travel, and his bag carried almost nothing. For weeks, he had been wandering across strange lands, searching for food, shelter, and maybe a little hope. When he first saw the cluster of shining huts in the valley below, he thought his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. The village looked alive. Glowing under the twin suns, strange banners moved in the hot wind, and he heard laughter echoing. Across the fields, Daniel had not heard laughter for a long time. He followed the sound, his boots sinking into the soft ground. The aliens who lived there were unlike any he had seen before. Their skin carried shades of silver and pale blue. Their tall figures moved with a quiet grace, and their large eyes glowed faintly. Some wore woven robes, while others carried tools. Made from crystal and stone, when Daniel stepped into the village center, dozens of eyes turned toward him. For a moment, silence fell. The children stopped playing, the farmers froze with their tools in hand, and the elders at the far end of the street leaned forward with caution. Daniel raised his hand slowly, trying not to appear as a threat. "I am not here to fight," he said softly. "I only need work, food, and a place to rest." The aliens exchanged looks with one another, a few whispered words in their language. Their voices sounded like wind passing through glass. A tall alien woman stepped forward. She had long white hair tied behind her head and a staff glowing faintly in her hand. She studied Daniel with a calm but sharp gaze. "You are human," she said in clear, broken English. Daniel nodded. "Yes, human," he replied. The woman looked around at her people, then back at Daniel, instead of rejecting him. She offered a slow nod. "You are far from your kind," she continued. "Why do you come here, Daniel?" Took a deep breath. His throat felt dry, but he forced his words out. "I need work," he said. "I can fix things, build things, carry loads, whatever is needed. I just need food in return." "And a place to stay," the villagers murmured. Some looked curious, others uneasy, but none drove him away. Instead, the tall woman tapped her staff on the ground. "Come," she said, "you will meet our council." Daniel followed her across the village. His eyes wandered to the huts, the glowing lanterns, and the alien children who peeked at him from behind doors. Some of them giggled, while others hid. A strange warmth grew in his chest. This place felt alive, more alive than anywhere he had seen since leaving Earth. The woman led him to a large structure in the center of the village, unlike the other huts. This one was carved from dark stone, with glowing veins running through it like rivers of light. Inside, a group of elders sat in a circle. Their robes shimmered with colors that shifted like oil on water. The woman spoke to them in her own tongue. The elders listened, nodding slowly. Then one of them, an older alien with deep lines across his silver face, turned his gaze on Daniel. His eyes were not hostile, but they carried weight. "You ask for work," the elder said in careful English. "You ask for food and shelter. Do you accept work even if it is not what you expect?" Daniel hesitated. His stomach growled, reminding him how little choice he had. He nodded. "Yes," he answered firmly. "Whatever it is, I will do it." The elder's lips curled into a faint smile, but it was a strange smile, filled with mystery. The others nodded in agreement, and one clapped his hands together. "It is decided," the elder declared. "You will begin tomorrow. You are welcome here, human." The villagers outside cheered when the news spread. Daniel felt a wave of relief. Finally, he would eat. Finally, he had a place to sleep. He bowed his head and thanked them. But as the cheering went on, Daniel noticed something odd. A few aliens did not celebrate. Their eyes were filled with pity instead of joy. A young alien girl stared at him from the crowd, her eyes wide and wet, as if she wanted to warn him of something, but could not speak. A cold shiver ran down his spine. What kind of job had he just agreed to? Daniel woke the next morning to the sound of bells echoing through the alien village. The air was warm, filled with the smell of strange herbs burning in clay pots. He had been given a small room inside one of the huts with soft woven blankets and a bowl of glowing fruit left by the door. For the first time in many weeks, he felt rested, but his mind was still heavy with questions. When he stepped outside, the villagers were already moving about. Farmers carried baskets of shining crops. Hunters returned from the forest with crystal-tipped spears. And children played with toys that floated in the air. Everything seemed peaceful. Yet Daniel noticed how the people kept glancing at him. Some smiled with curiosity. Others turned away quickly, as if afraid. The tall woman from yesterday, the one who had guided him, was waiting near the stone hall. She waved him over. "Today, you see our life," she said. Her voice was calm, but carried a strange weight. Daniel followed her as they walked through narrow paths lined with glowing stones. The villagers showed him their farms, where crops grew in shimmering rows. Each plant seemed alive, moving slightly as if breathing. The farmers explained that the crops were fed by underground energy instead of water. Daniel was amazed, but he noticed how the farmers' smiles faded whenever he asked too many questions. Later, they showed him the crystal wells, glowing pools that provided the village with both water and light. Children splashed their hands in the pools, laughing as sparks of blue energy danced across their skin. Daniel laughed with them. But once again, he noticed how the parents pulled their children back when he came too close. It was as if he carried both hope and danger in their eyes. By midday, the tall woman brought him to the marketplace. Dozens of stalls stood in a circle, filled with colorful fabrics, strange spices, and artifacts that hummed with hidden power. Daniel reached for a small pendant that glowed faintly when he touched it. But the stallkeeper quickly snatched it away, bowing with nervous respect. "You may not take this yet," the stallkeeper whispered. His voice shook. "Not until the bond is made." Daniel frowned. "What bond?" he asked. But the man only lowered his eyes and refused to answer. The tall woman placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder, guiding him away. "You will know soon," she said quietly. Her eyes held a shadow of sadness. As the suns dipped lower, the villagers gathered for an evening meal. Long tables were laid out with bowls of steaming food. The smell was sweet and sharp, unlike anything Daniel had tasted before. He was invited to sit at the center, surrounded by elders and families. Everyone raised their cups and sang in their flowing language, a melody both beautiful and haunting. Daniel tried the food. It was warm, filling, and gave him a strange energy. But while the others sang, he noticed a group of villagers watching him from the shadows. Their faces were serious, their whispers hidden. After the meal, Daniel wandered through the village on his own. The night was lit by glowing lanterns that floated in the air like stars. He felt a strange comfort in this place, yet deep inside, unease grew stronger. Why had they welcomed him so easily? Why did some look at him with pity instead of joy? He walked past a quiet alley and stopped when he heard voices. Peering around the corner, he saw two elders speaking in low tones. Their words were not meant for his ears, but fragments reached him. "The human is ready. He does not know yet. The bloodline must continue." Daniel's heart pounded. The words made little sense. But he felt the weight of their meaning. He stepped back quickly before they could notice him. His chest tightened as he remembered the contract he had signed. The elders had asked if he accepted work even if it was not what he expected. Now he feared what that truly meant. As he walked back to his hut, a soft voice stopped him. He turned to see the young alien girl who had stared at him yesterday. Her silver blue eyes shimmered in the lantern light. She looked nervous, but stepped closer. "You should be careful," she whispered. "They do not tell you everything." Daniel's breath caught. "What do you mean?" he asked. But before she could answer, the tall woman appeared in the distance. Calling Daniel's name, the girl's eyes widened with fear. She shook her head quickly, then vanished into the shadows. Daniel stood frozen for a moment, his mind racing, the warm welcome, the hidden whispers, the stares of pity. None of it made sense as he returned to his hut. He could not shake the feeling that the village carried a secret tied to him that night. As he lay on the soft blanket, Daniel stared at the glowing lantern outside his window. He thought about the girl's warning, the elder's words, and the strange silence in the marketplace. "What kind of job is this?" he whispered into the dark. The village outside slept peacefully, but Daniel's heart beat with restless fear. The next morning, Daniel was woken by the sound of drums echoing through the valley. The beats were slow, steady, and heavy, unlike the cheerful bells of the day before. He stepped outside his hut and found the villagers gathering in the main square. Their silver and blue faces looked serious, their glowing eyes fixed on the large stone hall at the center of the village. The tall woman, the one who had guided him since his arrival, stood waiting for him. Her expression was calm but carried a weight that made Daniel's chest tighten. She gestured for him to follow. "Today, Acute must meet the council again," she said. Daniel followed her, his boots crunching on the glowing stones of the path. The air felt different, heavier, as if the whole village was holding its breath. Children stood quietly beside their parents, no longer laughing or playing. Even the traders in the marketplace had closed their stalls. Inside the stone hall, the elders sat in a circle as before. Their shimmering robes shifted in colors that reminded Daniel of storm clouds. In the center of the room lay a long table made of crystal. On it was a single scroll, glowing faintly with blue symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "What is this?" he asked. The eldest among them, the silver-faced man from before, leaned forward. His deep voice filled the room. "This is our contract," he said, "the bond that ties you to our people." Daniel frowned. "You already said I had work," he replied. "Why do I need a contract?" The elder's eyes softened, but his tone was firm. "Because this is no ordinary work. Human," he said. "This is life. This is future. This is survival." Daniel's stomach twisted. The words felt too heavy to final. He stepped closer and glanced at the scroll. The symbols glowed brighter as his shadow touched the table. He could not read the alien language, but the strange light made the words feel alive. Another elder, a woman with lines across her pale blue cheeks, spoke softly. "You came to us in need, and we have given you shelter, food, and safety." She said, "Now you must give something back. More than labor, more than strength. You must give us a chance to live." Daniel shook his head slightly. "I don't understand," he whispered. His voice cracked in the silence of the hall. The tall woman beside him stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder. "Do not fear," she said gently. "This bond will not harm you. It will join you to us. You will be part of our people." Forever remembered, her words sounded kind. But Daniel noticed the way her eyes did not meet his, as if she herself carried doubt. The elder pointed to the glowing scroll. "Place your hand upon it, human," he commanded. "Let the bond accept you." Daniel hesitated. His heart pounded. He thought of the whispers he had overheard the night before about bloodlines, about survival, about him not knowing the truth. He remembered the young girl's warning, her frightened eyes begging him to be careful. "Why won't you tell me what this really means?" Daniel asked sharply. His voice echoed in the hall. Some of the elders shifted uncomfortably, but the eldest man did not move. "Because words cannot carry the full meaning," the elder replied. "Only the bond can show you. Only when it is sealed will you understand. And once sealed, there is no turning back." The villagers outside began to chant softly. Their voices drifted into the hall like a wave. Daniel felt trapped, eyes watching him from every corner. His stomach twisted tighter. His mind screamed at him to run. But his empty stomach and weary body reminded him how much he needed them. The tall woman whispered, "Trust us, Daniel." Her voice carried a strange sadness. Daniel stepped forward. His hand trembled as he reached toward the glowing scroll. The blue light flared brighter, casting his face in sharp shadows. When his palm touched the symbols, heat spread through his skin, then into his veins. A burning sensation shot through him, but it was not pain, it was something deeper. Something ancient, he gasped, as visions flooded his mind. He saw alien children, weak and fading. He saw families grieving over empty cradles. He saw the village struggling against extinction. Then the vision shifted. He saw himself not as a worker, but as a part of them, standing among alien women. Holding children with human eyes and alien features, he saw the villagers cheering. Their people alive once more. Daniel ripped his hand away. Gasping for air, the glow faded, but the bond had been made. The symbols now burned faintly across his palm, like a mark he could never erase. The elders rose to their feet, their voices loud and filled with triumph. "It is done," they declared. "The bond is sealed." The villagers outside roared with celebration. Drums beat faster, voices cried out in joy. But Daniel stood frozen, staring at his marked hand. His chest rose and fell in quick breaths. "What have you done to me?" he whispered. The tall woman lowered her head. Her eyes shimmered with something that looked like guilt. "We have given you a place among us," she said softly, "and you have taken on the duty of our survival." Daniel staggered back, his mind spun with fear and confusion. The meaning was becoming clearer now, and it terrified him. This was no ordinary job. This was something far greater. As the celebrations outside grew louder, Daniel felt more alone than ever. He looked at the mark on his hand and knew that his life had changed forever. The morning after the contract. Daniel awoke with the strange mark still glowing faintly on his palm. It pulsed with soft blue light. As if it were alive, he rubbed it again and again, but it would not fade. The memory of the vision haunted Hymalian children, empty cradles, and the faces of women watching him with hope. When he stepped outside, the villagers were waiting. This time, they did not look at him with suspicion. Instead, their eyes carried expectation. The tall woman who had guided him since the first day approached him with a group of villagers. In her hands, she held a folded robe, woven from shining fabric. "You wear this now," she said, placing it in his hands. "It shows that you belong to us, that the bond is alive." Daniel stared at the robe. It was beautiful, but heavy with meaning. Slowly, he put it on. The crowd nodded in approval, and some even bowed their heads to him. Yet the weight in his chest only grew heavier. The tall woman guided him through the village again, but this time not to the farms or the wells. Instead, she led him to a wide house near the edge of the settlement. Unlike the others, this house was surrounded by glowing vines that curled around its walls. The air here smelled different, sweet, and strange. Inside, Daniel found several alien women waiting. They were seated in a circle, their silver-blue skin glowing under the light of hanging crystals. Their large eyes followed him as he entered. Some looked shy, others looked nervous, but all of them seemed to be waiting for him. Daniel froze. His stomach tightened. He had expected tools, heavy labor, or building tasks, but there were no tools. Here, no fields to tend, no walls to repair, only soft cushions, steaming bowls of fruit, and eyes watching him closely. The tall woman spoke gently. "This is part of your duty now, Daniel. You will spend time with them, learn them, let them learn you. The bond will guide you." Daniel shook his head slowly. "Spend time," he repeated. His voice was tight. "What kind of work is this?" The tall woman did not answer directly. Instead, she gave a signal and stepped aside, leaving him with a circle of women. The door closed behind him. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then one of the younger women, her silver hair falling across her shoulders, offered him a bowl of fruit. "Eat with us," she said softly. Her voice was gentle, almost kind. Daniel hesitated, but sat down. The fruit was sweet and warm. Filling him with energy, the women smiled faintly, as if pleased that he had accepted. They asked him questions in broken English about Earth, about humans, about his life. Their laughter came easily when he told them small stories. They listened, with wide eyes, when he spoke about the stars he had crossed. For a moment, Daniel almost forgot the heaviness in his chest, but as the evening went on, he noticed how their questions turned. One asked about human families. Another asked how many children humans could have. Another touched his hand and looked at the glowing mark on his palm, whispering something in her language. Daniel pulled his hand back. His heart pounded. "What is this place?" he demanded. "Why am I really here?" Silence filled the room. The women looked at each other nervously. None of them answered. Finally, one lowered her head and said, "You are chosen. You help us live." Before Daniel could ask more, the door opened. The tall woman entered again. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried shadows. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Enough for today," she said. "You will return tomorrow." As Daniel walked back to his hut, his mind spun. This was no simple job. These were not simple duties. He felt the invisible chains of the contract tightening around him. Every smile, every glance from the villagers now felt like a reminder of what they expected from him. That night, he could not sleep. The mark on his hand glowed faintly in the dark. He stared at it, feeling as though it stared back. The next day, the routine repeated. He was led again to the house. Again the women waited. Again they asked him questions. Some drew closer, curious about his hands, his hair, his face. One brushed his arm with her fingers as if testing his warmth. Daniel pulled back quickly, his heart racing. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. His voice shook. "What do you want from me?" The young woman with silver hair met his eyes. Her voice trembled, but she spoke the truth. "We want a future," she whispered. Daniel stood, his chair scraping against the floor. His breath came fast. He turned to the tall woman who waited near the door. "This is not work," he said sharply. "This is something else. Tell me the truth." The tall woman looked at him for a long time. Her silence was heavier than words. Finally, she said quietly, "Tomorrow, you will know. The elders will explain. But tonight, rest. You will need strength." Daniel returned to his hut, but there was no rest. He paced the room, his hands shaking. He had signed the contract blindly, desperate for survival. Now he understood the price was something he never imagined. Outside, the village slept, but Daniel sat awake, staring into the dark. He realized that his duties were not about building or labor. They were about life itself, and he was at the center of it. Caught in a web he could not escape. The sun rose over the alien village, painting the sky with shades of silver and gold. Daniel sat outside his hut, staring at the mark on his palm. It no longer glowed as brightly, but it still pulsed faintly. Like a quiet reminder of the choice he had made, his mind was heavy, his body restless. He knew today the elders would finally explain the truth. The tall woman arrived, her face calm but serious. She gave him no smile, only a short nod. "The council waits," she said. Her voice carried no warmth this time. Daniel followed her through the quiet streets. The villagers watched him silently. Some eyes were full of respect, others heavy with sorrow. The stone hall loomed ahead, darker than before. Inside, the elders sat in a circle, their robes glowing faintly in the dim light. Daniel stood before them, his chest tight. He crossed his arms, trying to steady himself. "I want answers," he said firmly. "No more games. Tell me what this bond really means." The eldest man rose slowly, His silver skin shimmered under the crystal lamps. His voice was deep and steady. "You are right to ask," he said. "The time for hiding is over." He stepped closer, his glowing eyes fixed on Daniel. "Our people are dying," he began. "Once we were many. Our villages spread across the mountains, our children filled the fields with laughter. But now our numbers fade. Each year, fewer are born, each year. More of our cradles remain empty." Daniel frowned. His heart thumped hard. "What does that have to do with me?" he asked. The elder raised his hand, pointing toward Daniel's marked palm. "You are not only here to work, human, you are here to give life. The bond was made, so your strength, your blood, your seed may join with ours. We need you to help us survive." The words struck Daniel like a blade. His stomach turned. He shook his head quickly. "No," he whispered. "That can't be true." But the elder's eyes did not waver. "It is true," he said. "Your kind is strong, adaptable. Your body carries what ours has lost. Without you, we will vanish." Daniel stepped back, his chest rising and falling in panic. "You tricked me," he said. His voice cracked with anger. "You said it was work. You said I would help the village. You didn't tell me this." One of the female elders spoke softly. Her voice was almost pleading. "We did not trick you, human. We gave you food, shelter, safety. You signed the bond with your own hand, and now you are part of us." Daniel clenched his fists. His mark burned hotter. "I never agreed to this," he said. "I never agreed to be." His voice broke. He could not even finish the word. The tall woman stepped forward, her eyes filled with sadness. "Daniel?" She said quietly, "We had no choice. Do you think we would ask this of you if our future was not at stake? Our children are fading. Our families are breaking. You are our last hope." Daniel's mind raced. He thought of the women in the glowing house. The way they looked at him, not with lust, but with desperate hope. He remembered the young girl's warning, her wide eyes filled with pity. She had known the truth, even before he did. Anger fought with pity inside his chest. His hands trembled. He wanted to run, to escape, but where would he go? Out there was only wasteland. Hunger and death. In here, there was safety, but at the cost of his freedom. The elder's voice thundered again. "Do not see this as a curse. Human, see it as honor. You will live in our history. Your name will be remembered forever. You will be the father of our survival." Daniel's head shook violently. "I didn't come here to be your savior," he said. "I came here for work, for food, for a chance to live." His eyes burned with anger and fear. "I didn't come here too." He stopped, his voice breaking. The silence in the hall grew heavy. The villagers outside had gathered near the doorway, listening. Some bowed their heads in sorrow. Others looked at him with pleading eyes. Daniel felt their gaze pressing down on him like chains. Then a small voice broke through. Daniel turned to see the young alien girl, the one who had tried to warn him. She stood at the edge of the hall, her small hands clutching the doorframe. Her eyes shimmered with tears. "It's true," she said softly. "We are dying. Without you, we will disappear. Please don't leave us, human." Her words struck Daniel harder than the elder's speech. His throat tightened. He looked at her fragile form. At the innocence in her face, he saw not a trick, not a trap, but a desperate cry for survival. His heart wavered. His mind screamed at him to resist, to escape. But something deep inside whispered another truth: if he left, they would die. If he stayed, he would lose himself. The tall woman placed a hand on his shoulder again. Her touch was gentle but heavy. "The choice is not simple," she said. "But now you know the truth. You are bound to us, and we are bound to you." Daniel closed his eyes. His chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. He felt the mark on his hand burning brighter, reminding him that there was no easy way out. When? He opened his eyes. The entire village was waiting for his answer. Asterisk, the village did not feel the same after the truth was revealed. Daniel walked through the narrow paths and felt every pair of eyes on him. Some looked at him with hope, others with fear, and some with open anger. Children no longer ran close to him. Instead, they hid behind their mothers. Peeking out with wide, glowing eyes, the tall woman remained near him, guiding him from place to place, but even she looked heavier. Her calm face carried shadows now. Her voice was softer, as though she too feared what would happen next. That evening, a gathering was called in the central square. The villagers stood in a wide circle. The council sat in front. Their glowing robes brighter than ever, Daniel was placed in the center like a man on trial. The eldest elder raised his staff. "Our bond is sealed," he declared. "The human belongs to us. He is the lifeline of our people. He will not leave." A loud cheer came from part of the crowd, but it was quickly followed by shouts of protest. Some villagers pushed forward, their voices angry. No one cried. "He is dangerous. He is not one of us. He will corrupt our blood," another shouted. "What if his kind brings war?" a third voice added. The square filled with chaos. Some begged for Daniel to stay. Others demanded he be cast out. Daniel's chest tightened as he stood in the middle, surrounded by voices tearing at each other. The young alien girl who had spoken the truth before stepped forward. She raised her small hands and shouted, "Stop!" Her voice cracked, but it silenced many. Her eyes turned toward the elders. "We cannot fight each other. If he leaves, we die. If he stays, maybe we live." The crowd murmured, torn between fear and hope. Daniel clenched his fists. His voice broke through the noise. "You can't just decide my life for me," he said. His words carried across the square. "I didn't come here to be your savior. I didn't come here to be used." The tall woman placed her hand on his arm, her voice low but firm. "And yet you are part of us now. Daniel, the bond cannot be undone." Her words made the villagers grow louder again. Guards with crystal spears stepped forward, forming a circle around Daniel. Their faces were unreadable, but their weapons glowed faintly. Daniel's heart pounded. He felt like a prisoner. His eyes darted to the crowd, and he saw Leorette, the silver-haired woman from the house, watching him. Her gaze was full of conflict. She looked both afraid and hopeful. He realized she too was trapped in this fate just like him. The eldest elder struck his staff against the ground. "Enough," he thundered. The crowd fell silent. His glowing eyes swept over the people. "We are divided, but the bond is sealed. The human will remain. He will fulfill his duty, for without him, there will be no future." Daniel's stomach twisted. The words felt like chains tightening around his throat. He wanted to scream, to run, but he could not. The guards stood ready, and the villagers' eyes weighed heavy on him. That night, Daniel returned to his hut under guard. The villagers whispered as he passed. Some whispered blessings, others curses. He kept his head low, but his mind raced with anger and fear. Inside his hut, he paced back and forth, his hands trembled as he stared at the glowing mark. "I can't do this," he whispered. His voice shook. "I won't let them control me." A soft knock came at the door. Daniel froze, slowly. He opened it and found Lyra standing outside, her silver hair shimmered under the lantern light. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. Daniel hesitated, then stepped aside. She entered and stood near the wall. Her hands clasped tightly. "They will not let you go," she said softly, "but I wanted you to know. Not all of us see you as a prisoner. Some of us see you as hope. And I don't want you to hate us." Daniel stared at her. His chest felt heavy. "You knew," he said. His voice was low but sharp. You knew what this was. You all knew. Lyra lowered her head. Yes, she admitted. But I did not choose it. I was told to welcome you. I was told you would save us. But when I look at you, I see someone trapped. Like me. Her words hit Daniel harder than he expected. She was not just part of this plan, she was caught in it too. Her soft voice, her trembling hands. They spoke of fear as much as hope. Daniel sat down heavily. Running a hand through his hair, I don't know what to do, he whispered. If I stay, I lose myself. If I leave, you all die. Lyra sat across from him, her glowing eyes locking. With his, maybe, she said softly, but maybe staying does not mean losing. Maybe it means finding a new part of yourself. Maybe it means finding a future. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to believe her, but doubt still burned. In his heart, outside. The drums of the village began again, slow and steady. The sound of decision. The sound of chains. Daniel closed his eyes, knowing the conflict in the village was not over, and worse, the conflict inside him had only just begun. The village gathered. Once more beneath the twin suns, the air was heavy, filled with tension that could be cut like a blade. Daniel stood in the center of the square, his heart pounding against his chest. Around him, the villagers waited in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on him. Some faces held hope, others fear, and many carried doubt. The council of elders sat high on the stone platform, their robes shimmering like waves of light. The eldest elder raised his staff, its crystal tip glowing. The time has come, he declared. The bond has been sealed. But the human must choose his path. Will he embrace his duty and ensure our survival? Or will he turn away and doom us all? The words echoed across the square. Daniel's throat felt dry, his mind spun with everything he had learned. The contract, the women waiting for him, the desperate eyes of the young girl, and the sadness in Lyra's voice, all of it pressed down on him, crushing him under its weight. The crowd began to murmur. Some called out for him to stay, shouting that he was their savior. Others cursed him, demanding he leave before he brought ruin. The noise grew louder, a storm of voices. Daniel closed his eyes, trying to shut it out. Then he remembered the vision he had seen when he touched the scroll. He remembered the children fading away, the families grieving. He remembered the joy in their faces when new life appeared. He had not wanted to believe it, but he could not deny the truth without him. They would vanish. Daniel opened his eyes. His gaze met the tall woman's. She stood among the elders. Her face calm, but her eyes glimmering with sorrow. She gave him a slow nod, not of command, but of respect, as if telling him that the choice was his alone. His chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. He stepped forward, his voice cutting through. The crowd, you brought me here with lies, he said. You gave me no choice. You bound me without telling me the truth. The crowd stirred uneasily, but Daniel raised his voice. And yet, I have seen your pain. I have seen your children fading. I know what will happen if I walk away. Silence fell. All eyes locked onto him. Daniel's fists tightened, his voice lowered. Steadier now. I cannot forget what I saw. I cannot ignore. The truth, if I walk away, your people die, and I will carry that weight forever. So I will stay. A gasp rose from the villagers. Some cried with joy. Others fell to their knees in relief. The elders bowed their heads, their robes glowing brighter. The young girl who had warned him before ran forward, tears in her glowing eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for not letting us die. But Daniel raised his hand. His voice grew harder. Do not mistake my choice for surrender. He said firmly, I will not be your prisoner. I will not be used like a tool. If I stay, it will be as one. Of you, not as your slave, I will help you survive, but only if you see me as equal, only if you give me the freedom I deserve. The crowd fell silent again. The elders exchanged glances. The eldest elder lowered his staff slowly. "So be it," he said. "You are no longer outsider. From this day, you are part of us, not by chains, but by choice." The villagers bowed, some weeping, some smiling. The tall woman stepped forward and placed her hand gently on Daniel's shoulder. Her voice was quiet but strong. "You have given us more than hope. You have given us dignity. We will honor you, not bind you." Daniel's chest loosened. For the first time since entering the village, he felt the weight lift slightly. He looked out across the faces of the people, their glowing eyes filled with new light. He saw Lyra in the crowd, her silver hair shining. Her gaze met his, and she gave him a small, trembling smile, not of duty, but of gratitude. The drums began to beat, not with heaviness this time, but with rhythm and celebration. The villagers raised their voices in song, a sound of rebirth, of survival, of unity. Daniel stood among them, still unsure of what the future held. He knew the path ahead would not be easy. He knew his life was no longer his own, but for the first time he chose to stand, not as a stranger, not as a prisoner, but as a part of something greater. He looked at the mark on his palm. It glowed brighter now, not as a chain, but as a symbol of the choice he had made. The alien village would live, and he would live with them. The choice was made, and there was no turning back.